I showed up to the family reunion I funded, only to find an empty venue. Mom mockingly said, "It was yesterday, we saved you some leftovers." I stayed silent. The next morning, it was the police who spoke on my behalf. The neon glow of downtown Seattle buzzed outside my car window as I pulled into the gravel lot of the Emerald Loft, a swanky rooftop venue I'd shelled out a fortune to reserve. It was my 28th birthday, and I'd planned a grand family reunion to celebrate, a night to stitch together the fraying threads of our fractured clan. I'd spent weeks orchestrating every detail, a custom menu, a live jazz trio, even a photo booth for my cousin's kids. The bill? A staggering $2,800, not counting the deposit I'd wired months ago. My heart thrummed with anticipation as I checked my phone. Saturday, 8 p.m., the Emerald Loft. Can't wait to see you all. Love, Mom. The message, sent 3 weeks prior, glowed like a promise. But the parking lot was a desolate wasteland. No familiar SUVs, no chatter, no cousins sneaking vapes by the alley. Just the eerie hum of silence. My stomach churned as I stepped out, the autumn chill biting through my jacket. Something was wrong, catastrophically wrong. I double-checked the invite. Saturday, 8 p.m. It was 8:03. I was on time, as always the reliable fool. Inside, the Emerald Loft pulsed with strangers' laughter, clinking glasses, and the sultry wail of a saxophone. The hostess, a young woman with a sleek ponytail, barely glanced up from her tablet. "Name?" she asked, her tone clipped. Harper Party, private rooftop event," I said, my voice wavering. She scrolled, frowned, then tilted her head like I was a lost puppy. "Harper, that was last night, sir. Big group, maybe 20 people. They had a blast. Cake, balloons, the works." The world tilted. "No," I stammered, clutching my phone like a lifeline. "It's tonight. I paid for it. I booked the rooftop. Check again." She sighed, tapping her screen. "Nope, definitely yesterday. Your mom, Lydia, right? She brought these cute little name cards. Said it was a special surprise. You sure you didn't mix up the dates?" A laugh, sharp, jagged, clawed its way out of me. It died in the air, brittle and hollow. "Mix up? I paid $2,800. I confirmed with my mom yesterday." My voice cracked, betraying the rage simmering beneath. The hostess softened, her eyes flickering with pity. "Do you want to call someone? Maybe there's a mix-up." I was already dialing. My mom's number rang once, twice. Then her voice, syrupy and carefree, sliced through the line. "Hey, sweetie, everything okay?" "Where is everybody?" I demanded, my grip tightening on the phone. The jazz in the background faded as I stepped outside, the cold air stinging my face. A pause, then that infuriating giggle, the one she used when she'd been caught but refused to confess. "Oh, honey, the party was last night. We thought you were too busy with work. Don't worry, we saved you some cake." The words hit like a sledgehammer. "What?" I hissed, my breath visible in the frosty air. "It was Friday. Everyone had so much fun. We'll drop off leftovers tomorrow, promise." She said it so casually, like she was discussing the weather, not shattering my trust. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I hung up, my hand trembling, not from the cold, but from a fury so raw it burned. A text pinged. My sister Kayla. "Yo, you missed an epic night. Saved you a cupcake, bro. Don't be mad." A winking emoji mocked me from the screen. I stared at the hostess, who was watching me like I might unravel. "They came, ate, left," she said, shrugging. Looked like they had a great time. Of course they did. They always did, without me. I stumbled back to my car, the weight of betrayal crushing my chest. I didn't drive home. I sat there, engine off, staring at my reflection in the windshield. The man looking back wasn't the confident event planner who dreamed of a perfect night. He was a ghost, erased by the people who were supposed to love him. This wasn't just about a missed party. It was the culmination of years of being the family's invisible ATM. Growing up in our cramped Tacoma duplex, I was the easy kid. At 16, I juggled 2 jobs to help with bills while Kayla, 2 years older, flitted through life, the golden child who just needed a little push. Mom called her sensitive, Dad called her a dreamer. Me? I was capable. Translation, you don't need us, so we won't bother with you. When I landed my first real job at 22, a junior marketing gig, I called Mom bursting with pride. Her response? That's nice, honey. Can you help Kayla with her car payment? She's in a tough spot. That was the spark that ignited a 5-year inferno. 1 car payment became rent, then utilities, then a $1,500 loan for Kayla's culinary school. She abandoned after 3 months. I paid because I believed that's what family did, but love in my family was a one-way street, and I was bleeding out on the pavement. Every time I dared protest, I was met with the same refrain, "Stop being so selfish. We're family. Kayla's struggling. You're doing fine." Fine? I was drowning, my savings gutted, my dreams deferred. But they didn't see it. They didn't care. The worst cut came a year ago. I just wired $800 to cover Kayla's emergency phone bill. Hours later, she posted an Instagram story, a new tattoo, a latte art masterpiece, and a guy's arm slung around her at a rooftop bar. I showed Mom. She smirked. "You're always so dramatic about money." Dramatic. I'd paid their overdue electric bill the previous winter when Dad forgot to file his taxes. I'd covered Kayla's credit card debt when she got fired from her barista job. I'd even bought Christmas gifts for everyone when Mom said they were too broke to celebrate. My gift, a $10 coffee mug with "World's Best Brothers" scrawled on it. The irony was cruel. Then came the night that shattered me. 6 months ago, I was crashing at my parents' place after helping Kayla out of another mess. $1,000 for a security deposit she swore she'd repay. I crept downstairs for a drink and overheard them in the living room. Kayla's voice, dripping with scorn. "He's so obsessed with playing the hero, it's pathetic." Mom, "I know. He thinks he's saving us." Dad chuckling, "Let him keep paying. It's not like he's got anything else going for him." Kayla's final blow. If he vanished, I wouldn't even blink. I stood frozen, the glass trembling in my hand. They didn't know I was there. They didn't care. The next morning, Mom served waffles like nothing had happened. I ate in silence, their words carving scars no one could see. Back in my car outside the Emerald Loft, those scars reopened. The party wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated betrayal. They'd planned it, laughed about it, toasted to their victory while I stood alone in an empty lot. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I calculated. That $2,800? It covered Kayla's vegan appetizers, Dad's craft beer, and Aunt Jenna's gluten-free dessert. They'd feasted on my dime, then discarded me like a used napkin. I fired off a text to the family group chat. "Meet me at Mom's tomorrow, 7 p.m. I have something for you." No one asked what. They never did. They assumed I'd roll over, as always. But tomorrow I'd rewrite the script. I didn't sleep that night. My apartment, a cramped studio overlooking Puget Sound, felt like a war room. I pored over bank statements, Venmo receipts, every transaction I'd made for them. The total? A gut-punching $17,000 over 5 years. Rent, loans, emergencies, none repaid, none appreciated. I printed it all, every damning digit, and tucked it into a manila folder. But that wasn't enough. I needed a weapon sharper than guilt. I logged into my credit card account, a habit born of paranoia. There it was, a new card, opened in my name, with $5,200 in charges. An iPhone, a spa weekend, a designer purse, all linked to Kayla's social media posts. She'd claimed they were gifts from a boyfriend. The billing address, my parents' house. My blood boiled. This wasn't just neglect, it was theft. I called the credit company at dawn. "I'm reporting identity fraud," I said, my voice steady. They flagged the account, promising an investigation. I hung up and stared at the folder. Tomorrow they'd face more than a bill. They'd face me. At 6:55 p.m., I pulled into my parents' driveway, the folder heavy in my hands. The house, a faded craftsman in Tacoma, glowed with warmth, mocking the storm brewing inside. Mom was arranging throw pillows like we were expecting royalty. Dad lounged in his recliner, a beer in hand. Kayla scrolled her phone, her face a mask of boredom. Aunt Jenna and my cousin Marcus, a quiet 19-year-old who'd always lingered on the edges, sat awkwardly on the couch. Mom looked up, her smile brittle. "Sweetie, we weren't sure you'd come. Are you still upset about the party?" I said nothing, my silence a blade. Kayla rolled her eyes. "It wasn't personal, okay? Friday just worked better for everyone. You're always so busy." I set the folder and an envelope on the coffee table. "This," I said, my voice low and lethal, "is a bill for the $2,800 party you enjoyed without me." Dad snorted. "A bill? You're kidding." "I'm not," I shot back, leaning forward. "And from now on, every favor, every dollar comes with an invoice." Mom's eyes narrowed. "You're being ridiculous. We're family." "Family?" I spat, my voice rising. "The family that ditched me after I paid for your party? The family that's bled me dry for years?" I opened the folder, revealing the printed transactions. $17,000. That's what I've given you. Rent, loans, your cruise, Kayla's emergencies. And this, I tapped the envelope, is a fraud report. Someone opened a credit card in my name. Guess whose address is on it? Kayla paled, her phone slipping. "You're lying." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone, showing the charges. $5,200, your iPhone. Your spa day, your purse. You thought I wouldn't notice? The room erupted. Kayla screamed, "You're insane!" Dad roared, "You're tearing us apart." Mom sobbed, "How could you do this to your sister?" I stood, unshaken. "I'm not doing this. You did, and I'm done." Marcus spoke, his voice soft but steady. "He's right. I was there when you planned to exclude him. You laughed about it. I should have said something." He looked at me, eyes wide with guilt. "I'll pay my share of the dinner." The room fell silent, their masks crumbling. I nodded at Marcus, a flicker of gratitude breaking through my rage. Then I walked out, the folder in my hand, their shouts fading behind me. The Tacoma night swallowed me as I drove away from my parents' house, the folder of financial records burning a hole in the passenger seat. My cousin Marcus's quiet confession, "I was there when you planned to exclude him." "You laughed about it," echoed in my skull, a bittersweet validation. For once, someone had seen the truth, but it didn't dull the ache. The betrayal at the Emerald Loft wasn't a one-off. It was the final crack in a foundation I'd spent years propping up, only to watch it crumble under the weight of my family's indifference. I didn't head home to my Seattle studio. Instead, I pulled into a 24-hour diner off I-5, its neon sign flickering like a dying star. The place smelled of burnt coffee and nostalgia, a haven for insomniacs and ghosts like me. I slid into a vinyl booth, the folder open before me, and ordered a black coffee I didn't plan to drink. The waitress, a woman with tired eyes and a name tag reading Rita, gave me a knowing nod, as if she recognized the look of someone unraveling. I spread the papers across the table, bank statements, Venmo receipts, a handwritten ledger I'd kept like a masochist. $17,000. That was the price of my loyalty, paid out in increments to my sister Kayla, my parents and their endless parade of emergencies, rent for Kayla's apartment when she forgot to budget, Mom's birthday cruise when Dad claimed they were strapped, Dad's truck repair after he rear-ended someone and didn't want insurance to know. Each transaction was a wound, each excuse a twist of the knife. And now the $2,800 for a reunion they deliberately held without me, laughing as they sipped craft cocktails on my dime. But the credit card fraud, that was the guillotine. Kayla had opened a card in my name, racking up $5,200 for an iPhone, a spa weekend, and a designer purse she flaunted on Instagram. The billing address was my parents' house, And her texts to a friend, uncovered by the credit company, were damning. Use his info. He's such a pushover he won't notice. I'd filed a fraud report that morning, and the police were already circling. The thought of Kayla's smug face cracking under their questions sparked a grim satisfaction, but it wasn't enough. I wanted them to feel the weight of what they'd done, the way I'd carried it for years. My phone buzzed, shattering the diner's hum. A text from Mom. "Please, honey, come back. We need to talk." Kayla's a wreck. No apology, just manipulation dressed up as concern. I swiped it away. Another from Kayla. "You're really going to send me to jail? You're pathetic." I laughed, a bitter guttural sound that made Rita glance over from the counter. Pathetic? I'd been their lifeline, their bank, their fool. But pathetic? That was the mask they'd forced on me, and I was done wearing it. I flipped through the folder, my eyes snagging on a receipt from 2 years ago, $1,200 for Kayla's emergency vet bill for her dog, Milo. Hours after I'd wired the money, she'd posted a story from a Vegas nightclub, her nails freshly manicured, a cocktail in hand. I'd shown Mom, hoping for outrage for anything. She'd shrugged. "Kayla's young. She's figuring it out. Don't be so hard on her." Hard on her? I'd been 24, working 60-hour weeks, skipping meals to cover their bills while Kayla partied. And they called me hard? The memory that cut deepest wasn't the money. It was the night I overheard their true thoughts. A year ago, I'd been at my parents' house, exhausted after bailing Kayla out of another overdraft. I'd gone downstairs for water and caught their voices in the living room. Kayla. "He loves playing the martyr. It's embarrassing." Mom. "He thinks he's our savior. It's sad." Dad, with a chuckle. "Let him pay. What else is he good for? No wife, no kids. Might as well be useful." Kayla's final jab. "If he dropped off the face of the earth, I wouldn't care." I'd stood in the hallway, the glass trembling in my hand, my heart a hollow drum. They didn't know I was there. They didn't need to. Their words were a mirror, reflecting the role they'd assigned me. The invisible son, the endless wallet, the man who didn't matter unless a bill was due. The next morning, Mom had made French toast, smiling like she hadn't gutted me. I'd eaten in silence, swallowing their poison with every bite. Rita refilled my coffee. Gabriella's eyes widened. "You okay, hon?" she asked, snapping me back to the diner. Her voice was soft, like she'd seen too many broken souls in this booth. "Yeah," I lied, forcing a smile. "Just family stuff." She nodded, wise enough not to pry. "Family's the worst sometimes, but you're tougher than you look. Hang in there." She shuffled off, leaving me with her words, "Tougher than you look." Maybe she was right. I'd survived their neglect, their theft, their lies. But surviving wasn't enough anymore. I wanted to live. I pulled out my laptop and drafted an email to the credit company, attaching screenshots of Kayla's texts and the fraudulent charges. I CC'd the detective assigned to the case, a gruff man named Officer Delgado who'd promised to follow up. "I want to proceed with the investigation," I wrote. "The card was opened without my consent, and I have evidence of intent." I hit send, my pulse steady. This wasn't revenge, it was justice. My phone buzzed again. Aunt Jenna this time. "I'm so sorry, kiddo. I didn't know they planned it without you. I should have spoken up. Can we talk?" I stared at the message. Jenna was the only one who'd ever seemed to see me, but her silence at the party stung. I typed back, "I need time. I'll reach out when I'm ready." It wasn't forgiveness, but it wasn't a door slammed shut either. I thought about Marcus, the cousin who'd surprised me by speaking up. At 19, he was still finding his voice, caught in the family's toxic orbit. His offer to pay his share of the dinner had been a crack in their armor, a sign that not everyone was complicit. I texted him, "Thanks for having my back. Let's grab coffee soon." His reply was instant. "Hell yeah, you're the realest." A small spark of hope flickered. Maybe I wasn't as alone as I thought. The diner's clock read 2:17 a.m. I packed up, leaving a $20 tip for Rita. Outside, the air was crisp, the stars hidden by city lights. I drove home, the folder beside me like a war trophy. My studio apartment, perched above Puget Sound, was a mess of unpacked boxes and dreams I'd shelved to keep my family afloat. I didn't sleep. Instead, I sat by the window watching the water shimmer under the moon and planned my next move. By morning, my phone was a battlefield. Mom, Daniel, please. Kayla's falling apart. We're family. Dad, you're making a mistake. Drop this now. Kayla, you're dead to me. I didn't respond. Their words were noise, not truth. But one message stood out from Officer Delgado. We're visiting the Harper residence today. Evidence is solid. We'll update you soon. My heart thudded. This was real. The police were closing in and Kayla's lies were unraveling. I met Marcus for coffee at a quirky shop in Capitol Hill, its walls plastered with local art. He looked nervous, his hoodie swallowing his lanky frame. I'm sorry, man, he said, stirring his latte. I heard them joking about ditching you. I should have texted you. Why didn't you? I asked, not accusing, just curious. He shrugged, eyes down. I didn't want to rock the boat. Mom's always on me to keep the peace, but you're the only one who's ever been real with me. I screwed up. I nodded, seeing myself at his age, desperate for approval. You spoke up when it counted. That's not nothing. He grinned, a kid again. You're kind of badass, you know that? Calling the cops. That's next level. I laughed, the sound foreign but welcome. Not badass, just done. We talked for an hour about his community college classes, his dream of being a graphic designer, my job in marketing. For the first time, I felt like family, not a transaction. As we parted, he hugged me, quick and awkward. Don't be a stranger, okay? I won't, I promised, meaning it. That afternoon, Delgado called. We visited your parents' place, he said, his voice clipped but calm. Your sister admitted to using your info, claimed it wasn't fraud because you always help. We found texts on her phone planning it. Your mom tried to cover for her, but it's not looking good. We need your decision on pressing charges. I exhaled, the weight of it crushing. Can I have a day to think? 24 hours, he said. This doesn't go away, but you set the pace. I hung up, my mind a storm. Pressing charges could ruin Kayla, her job, her apartment, her future. But letting her off meant endorsing their lies, letting them think they could bleed me again. I thought of Rita's words, "You're tougher than you look." I thought of Marcus breaking free. I thought of the man I saw in the windshield outside the Emerald Loft, a ghost no more. I opened my laptop and started a new document. Not a bill, not a fraud report, but a letter. To myself. You are enough. You are not their bank. Their savior, their fool. You are free. I saved it, a vow etched in pixels. Tomorrow I'd call Delgado. Tomorrow I'd choose me. The Seattle skyline glittered beyond my studio window, a constellation of lights mocking the chaos in my chest. It was 6:47 a.m., and Officer Delgado's words from yesterday looped in my mind like a relentless drumbeat. We found texts on her phone planning it. Your mom tried to cover for her, but it's not looking good. We need your decision on pressing charges. 24 hours. That was all I had to decide whether to send my sister Kayla to face the consequences of her $5,200 credit card fraud, or let her slink away, free to stab me again. The folder of financial records, $17,000 in loans, rent, and emergencies I'd paid for my family, sat on my desk, a silent indictment. The $2,800 bill for the reunion they'd held without me at the Emerald Loft was just the latest betrayal, but the fraud was the line I couldn't uncross. I hadn't slept. My phone was a war zone, 19 missed calls, 37 texts, all from Mom, Dad, and Kayla. Mom's voicemails oscillated between tearful pleas, "Daniel, we're family, you can't do this to us," and veiled threats, "If you push this, you'll regret it." dads were blunt. Drop this nonsense or you're out of this family. Kayla's were venomous. You're a selfish loser. I'll never forgive you. I didn't reply. Their words were shrapnel, but I was done bleeding. I poured a coffee, the mug's world's best brother inscription, a cruel joke from a Christmas past. My cousin Marcus's unexpected support last night. You're the only one who's ever been real with me, had cracked open a sliver of hope. His offer to pay his share of the reunion dinner and his admission that the family had laughed about excluding me were small acts of courage, but they mattered. So did Aunt Jenna's text, apologizing for her silence. But hope wasn't enough to dull the fury. I needed action. I opened my laptop and reread the letter I'd written to myself. You are enough. You are not their bank, their savior, their fool. You are free. The words anchored me, a lifeline in the storm. I pulled up the fraud report, the evidence stark. Kayla's text to her friend, use his info. He's such a pushover he won't notice, alongside receipts for her iPhone, spa weekend, and designer purse. The credit card, opened in my name, was linked to my parents' address. Officer Delgado had everything he needed. The question was, did I have the guts to follow through? I met Marcus at a skate park near his community college, the air sharp with autumn chill and the screech of wheels on concrete. He was attempting a kickflip, his lanky frame awkward but determined. When he saw me, he jogged over, his hoodie damp with sweat. "Yo, you look like you haven't slept in a week," he said, half grinning. "Feels like it," I admitted, leaning against a bench. Police went to Mom's yesterday. Kayla admitted to the fraud but said it wasn't a big deal because I always help. Marcus's jaw tightened. "That's messed up. She's been milking you forever. They all have." I nodded, the validation bittersweet. "Delgado wants my call on charges. I've got till tonight." He whistled, low and sharp. "Heavy. What are you going to do?" "I don't know," I said, my voice raw. "Part of me wants to burn it all down. Part of me doesn't want to be the guy who sends his sister to jail." Marcus kicked at a pebble, his eyes distant. "When I was a kid, Mom, your Aunt Jenna, used to tell me to stay out of family drama, said it wasn't my place, but I saw how they treated you, always asking for cash, never saying thanks. That party, they planned it to screw you over. I heard Kayla say it'd be funny to see if you'd show up." The words hit like a fist. "Funny," I repeated, my voice a growl. They laughed while I paid for their vegan apps and craft beer. "Yeah," Marcus said, meeting my gaze. "I should have warned you. I'm sorry, man." "You're here now," I said, clapping his shoulder. "That's more than most." He grinned, a spark of defiance in his eyes. "If you press charges, I'll back you. I'm done with their crap." I felt a surge of gratitude, but it was tempered by the weight of the choice ahead. "Thanks, Marcus. Let's grab a burger later. I need to clear my head." "Deal," he said, skating off with a wave. Back in my car, I drove aimlessly, the Seattle drizzle blurring the windshield. Memories clawed at me, each one a reminder of my role as the family's invisible pillar. At 20, I'd worked double shifts at a warehouse to cover Mom's medical bills after a car accident. She'd thanked me with a pat on the head, then asked for $500 for Kayla's therapy that turned out to be a yoga retreat. At 23, I'd maxed out my credit card to buy Dad a new TV for his 50th birthday. He'd grunted a thanks and never invited me to watch a game. Kayla was the worst. Her emergencies a revolving door of bad decisions. $1,500 for a culinary course she ditched. $800 for a vet bill that funded a Vegas trip. $2,000 for rent that mysteriously coincided with a new tattoo sleeve. But the memory that gutted me was 2 summers ago. I just paid off Kayla's $1,200 overdraft, my savings gutted. That night, I overheard her on the phone in my parents' backyard. Daniel's such a sucker. I tell him I'm broke and he just hands it over. He's got no life, so whatever. Mom, watering her roses nearby, had laughed. "He's always been too serious. Let him help. It's good for him." I'd stood there, hidden by the porch shadows, my heart splintering. They didn't just use me, they mocked me for it. My phone buzzed, yanking me back to the present. A voicemail from Mom. Daniel, Kayla's in a bad place. She didn't mean it. Come to the house tonight. We can fix this. Please. Her voice cracked, but I knew better. This wasn't remorse, it was damage control. I deleted it. Another call came through, this one from a number I didn't recognize. I answered, cautious. Hello? Daniel, it's Carla, your mom's friend from church. Her voice was warm but hesitant. I heard about the situation. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Lydia's been telling everyone you're overreacting, but I saw how they treated you at last year's barbecue. Always asking for favors, never appreciating you. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. I blinked, stunned. Carla was a peripheral figure, always at family events with her famous peach cobbler. I hadn't expected her support. Thanks, Carla, I said, my throat tight. That means a lot. God sees the truth, she said softly. You're not alone. She hung up, leaving me with a flicker of warmth in the cold. By 4 p.m., I was back at my apartment, the folder open again. I called Officer Delgado, my hand steady. I want to proceed, I said, but I need to know what happens next. We'll bring Kayla in for questioning, he said. The texts and charges are enough for a strong case. Your parents could face scrutiny for enabling it since the card was tied to their address. You'll need to provide a formal statement. Can you come to the station tomorrow? Yes, I said, my voice firm. I'll be there. Good, he said. You're doing the right thing. This isn't just about you. It's about stopping her from doing it to someone else. I hung up, a strange calm settling over me, but it shattered when my phone lit up with a group text from Mom. Emergency family meeting. Our house, 7 p.m. Be there. No please, no context, just a command. Against my better judgment, I decided to go. Not to reconcile, but to face them one last time, to see if they'd dare look me in the eye. At 6:58 p.m., I pulled into my parents' driveway, the Craftsman house glowing with false warmth. Inside, the scene was a twisted tableau, Mom pacing, her eyes red, Dad in his recliner, face like thunder, Kayla on the couch clutching a tissue like a prop. Aunt Jenna sat stiffly, Marcus beside her, his expression unreadable. A new face surprised me. Uncle Ray, Dad's older brother who rarely showed up to family events. His presence felt like a wild card. Mom rushed toward me, arms outstretched. Oh, honey, thank God you're here. I stepped back, dodging her embrace. Her face fell, but she recovered quickly. We just want to talk. This has gone too far. Too far? I said, my voice a blade. You mean Kayla stealing my identity? Or you all ditching me at a party I paid for? Or the $17,000 I've shelled out while you laughed behind my back? Kayla sobbed, theatrical and hollow. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was desperate. Desperate? I snapped, pulling out the fraud report. You texted your friend it'd be easy to use my info. You called me a pushover. That's not desperation, that's betrayal. Dad slammed his beer down. Enough. You're tearing this family apart over money? Money? I laughed, cold and sharp. This isn't about money. It's about respect. You've used me for years, and when I call it out, you gaslight me. I'm done. Uncle Ray cleared his throat, his voice gravelly. Kid, I've been watching this for years. You've been their bank, and they've been your leeches. I stayed quiet too long, but I'm with you. This stops now. The room froze. Mom gaped, Dad's face reddened, and Kayla's sobs hiccuped into silence. Marcus nodded, a quiet hell yeah escaping him. Aunt Jenna looked at her hands, guilt etched in her frown. I tossed the fraud report on the coffee table. The police have this. Kayla, you're being questioned tomorrow. Mom, Dad, you're on the hook for enabling it. You want to fix this? Start with the truth. Kayla lunged, screaming, You're ruining my life. Mom grabbed her, wailing, How could you do this to us? Dad stood, pointing at the door. Get out. You're no son of mine. I didn't flinch. Good. I don't want to be. I turned to leave, but Marcus's voice stopped me. "I'm paying my share of the dinner," he said, standing. "And I'm done with this toxic crap. Daniel's not the villain. You are." Uncle Ray nodded. "Same here. You've lost a good man." Aunt Jenna whispered, "I'm sorry, but it was too late." I walked out, the night air sharp and clean. My phone buzzed. "Carla, praying for you. You're stronger than they know." I smiled, the weight lifting if only a fraction. Tomorrow I'd face the police, the truth, and whatever came next. But tonight, I was free. The Seattle dawn was a bruise of gray and gold smearing across the sky as I stood outside the police station. My breath fogged in the chilly air, each exhale a reminder that I was still here, still fighting. Officer Delgado's call yesterday had set the stage. Kayla's admission to using my identity for $5,200 in fraudulent charges, backed by her damning texts, had given the police an airtight case. My decision to proceed with the investigation was a grenade lobbed into my family's carefully curated facade, and last night's explosive confrontation at my parents' house had been the detonation. Marcus's defiance, Uncle Ray's unexpected support, and Aunt Jenna's guilty silence had fractured their united front, but my parents' and Kayla's refusal to own their betrayal only hardened my resolve. I clutched the folder, $17,000 in documented payments to my family, plus the $2,800 for the reunion they'd held without me at the Emerald Loft, as I stepped into the station. The fluorescent lights buzzed, casting a sterile glow over the linoleum. Delgado, a stocky man with a no-nonsense stare, greeted me at the desk. "You ready, Harper?" he asked, his voice gruff but not unkind. "As I'll ever be," I said, my pulse steady despite the storm in my chest. We sat in a small interview room, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee. I handed over the folder detailing every transaction: Kayla's rent, Mom's cruise, Dad's truck repair, the endless emergencies that had drained me for years. Delgado flipped through it, his brow furrowing. "This is meticulous," he said. "You've been their bank for a long time." "Too long," I replied, my voice low. "The fraud's just the tip of it. They've been using me, mocking me for years." He nodded, jotting notes. "Your sister's being questioned this afternoon. The texts are solid evidence, premeditated intent. Your parents' involvement is trickier, but the billing address being their house doesn't help them. You're sure you want to move forward?" I thought of Kayla's venomous text. "You're a selfish loser." Mom's tearful manipulation. "You're tearing us apart." Dad's ultimatum. "You're no son of mine." Then I thought of Marcus's courage, Uncle Ray's gravelly support, and Carla's quiet kindness. "I'm sure," I said, my voice ablade. "They need to face consequences." Delgado leaned back. "Fair enough. We'll need your formal statement, and you might have to testify if it goes to court. This could get messy." "Let it," I said, meeting his gaze. "I'm done cleaning up their messes." I left the station with a strange calm, like the quiet after a storm. My phone was a minefield. 12 missed calls, 28 texts, all from Mom, Dad, and Kayla. I ignored them, but a message from Marcus caught my eye. "Yo, Kayla's freaking out. Mom says Aunt Lydia's telling everyone you're unstable." I shut that down. "You good?" I smiled, a flicker of warmth in the cold. "I'm good. Thanks for having my back," I replied. Another text from Carla. "Heard the police showed up. You're in my prayers. Stay strong." I didn't respond, but her words were a lifeline. I drove to a waterfront park, the Puget Sound stretching like a silver mirror under the overcast sky. The air was sharp, salted with the sea. I sat on a bench, the folder beside me, and let the memories flood in. The reunion betrayal wasn't the first cut. It was the deepest. Growing up, I was the reliable kid, working odd jobs at 15 to help with bills while Kayla, the sensitive one, was coddled. At 22, I'd paid for her culinary school that she quit for a bartending gig. At 24, I'd covered Mom's medical bills only to hear her ask for more for Kayla's therapy that funded a yoga retreat. Dad's gratitude for my help with his truck, a grunt and a beer. Their mantra was always the same. You're doing fine. Kayla needs us more. The worst was a year ago when I overheard them in the backyard. Kayla's sneer, Daniel's such a sucker. He just hands it over. Mom's laugh, he's too serious. Let him help. Dad's chuckle, what else is he good for? I'd stood in the shadows, my heart splintering, realizing I was less a son than a resource. Yet I kept paying, kept hoping until the emerald loft shattered that illusion. My phone buzzed, yanking me back. An unknown number. I answered, wary. Hello? Daniel, it's Uncle Ray. His voice was rough, like gravel. I'm at a diner in Tacoma. Can you meet me? We need to talk. I hesitated. Ray's support last night had been a shock, but trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. Still, his tone was urgent. All right, I said. Text me the address. The diner was a relic, its formica tables and jukebox straight out of the 70s. Ray sat in a corner booth, his weathered face etched with something like regret. He waved me over, a coffee mug dwarfed in his calloused hands. Thanks for coming, kid, he said as I slid in. I owe you an apology. For what? I asked, my guard up. For staying quiet, he said, his eyes meeting mine. I've watched your folks and Kayla bleed you dry for years. Never said a word. Thought it wasn't my place, but last night seeing you stand up to them, that took guts. I leaned back, processing. Why now? He sighed, rubbing his neck. Got a call from Lydia this morning. She's spinning it like you're the bad guy, saying you're unhinged. I told her to cut the crap. She didn't like that. He chuckled, but it was humorless. I've seen too many families implode over lies. I don't want that for you. I nodded, the knot in my chest loosening. Thanks, Ray. Means more than you know. He pushed a folded check across the table. This is my share of that damn party. $200. I didn't know they'd ditch you, but I ate, so I owe. I stared at the check, my throat tight. You don't have to. I do, he interrupted. And Marcus is right. You're not the villain. They are. Whatever you do with the police, I'm behind you. I pocketed the check, a small victory. Kayla's being questioned today. I'm pressing charges. Ray's eyes widened, then softened. Good. She needs to learn. They all do. We talked for an hour about his days as a mechanic, my marketing job, the family's toxic patterns. As I left, he clapped my shoulder. You're tougher than they think, kid. Don't forget it. That afternoon, Delgado called. We brought Kayla in, he said. She cracked fast, admitted to opening the card, said she didn't think you'd care. Tried to pin some blame on your mom for suggesting it. We're digging into that. Your parents are coming in tomorrow. My stomach churned. What's next? We're building a case for identity theft, he said. Kayla's looking at potential charges, fraud, maybe larceny. Your statement's solid and the texts are gold. You might need to testify if it goes to court. You still in? Absolutely, I said, my voice unwavering. Keep me posted. I hung up, my mind racing. Kayla's confession was a win, but Mom's possible involvement twisted the knife. Had she really suggested it? The thought was a fresh wound, but it fit their pattern. Deflect, manipulate, repeat. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. Daniel, please. Kayla's a mess. Come to the house tonight. We can make this right. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Make it right? They'd never owned a single wrong. I didn't reply. Instead, I called Marcus. You free? I asked. Need to get out of my head. Hell yeah, he said. Meet me at the arcade. I'm whooping you at Street Fighter. I smiled, the first real one in days. You're on. The arcade was a neon jungle, pulsing with 8-bit music and the clatter of claw machines. Marcus was already at a Street Fighter cabinet, his fingers flying. Ready to lose, old man? He teased, tossing me a quarter. Keep dreaming, I shot back, sliding into the seat. For an hour, we battled, trading jabs and laughs. It was the closest I'd felt to family in years. Not the suffocating obligation of my parents' house, but something real, chosen. As we grabbed sodas, Marcus grew serious. Heard from Mom. Aunt Lydia's telling everyone you're disowning the family. Says you're ungrateful for all they've done. I snorted. All they've done? Like bleeding me dry and stealing my identity? Exactly, he said, his eyes fierce. I told Mom the truth. How they ditched you, how Kayla's been scamming you. She's pissed at Lydia now. Says she's done with the drama. I raised an eyebrow. Jenna's taking a stand? Yup, he said, grinning. You're shaking things up, man. It's awesome. I laughed, but the weight of it lingered. Shaking things up meant burning bridges, and I wasn't sure how many I had left. That night, against my better judgment, I went to my parents' house. Not to reconcile, but to see if they'd face me without their masks. The driveway was crowded. Dad's truck, Mom's sedan, and surprisingly, Carla's minivan. I braced myself and stepped inside. The living room was a battlefield. Mom sat on the couch, eyes puffy, clutching a rosary. Dad stood by the fireplace, his face a storm cloud. Kayla was curled up, her makeup streaked, playing the victim. Carla sat quietly, her presence a mystery. Uncle Ray and Marcus were there too, their solidarity a shield. Mom stood, her voice trembling. Daniel, thank God. We can fix this. Kayla's sorry. We'll pay you back. Pay me back? I said, my voice ice. You didn't offer that until the police showed up. You planned to exclude me from a party I paid for. Kayla stole from me. And you... I turned to Mom. Might have helped her. Her gasp was theatrical. That's a lie. I'd never... Save it. I cut in, tossing the fraud report on the table. The police have Kayla's texts. They're looking at you, too. Kayla sobbed. I didn't mean it. I was stressed. Stressed, I roared. You laughed about using me. You called me a pushover. You don't get to cry now. Dad stepped forward, his voice low. You're destroying this family. Drop the charges or you're done. I met his glare. I'm already done. You made that choice when you let this happen. Carla spoke, her voice soft but firm. Lydia, Jim, you've lost sight of what family means. Daniel's been your rock and you've treated him like dirt. I'm ashamed to call you friends. Mom's jaw dropped. Dad sputtered, but Carla held her ground. Marcus nodded and Uncle Ray added, She's right. You've lost him, and you've only got yourselves to blame. I turned to leave, my heart pounding but light. Kayla's wail followed me. You're ruining my life. I didn't look back. Outside, the night was crisp, the stars sharp. I drove away, Carla's words echoing, You've been their rock. For the first time, I felt like one, unbreakable, unyielding. The Seattle rain was a relentless curtain drumming against my studio's window as I sat on my couch, a mug of coffee gone cold in my hands. It had been a week since I walked out of my parents' house, leaving behind Kayla's crocodile tears, Mom's manipulative pleas, and Dad's thunderous ultimatums. The police investigation into Kayla's $5,200 credit card fraud was charging forward, fueled by her incriminating texts and my meticulous records of the $17,000 I'd poured into my family's endless demands. The $2,800 betrayal at the Emerald Loft, the reunion they'd held without me, was the spark that ignited my rebellion, but it was the support of unexpected allies like Marcus, Uncle Ray, and Carla that gave me the strength to keep fighting. My phone was silent now, a stark contrast to the barrage of calls and texts that had flooded it days ago. Mom's final message, a tearful, "You're breaking my heart," had gone unanswered. Dad's "You're dead to us" was a wound I refused to tend. Kayla's venom, "You'll regret this, loser," was just noise. I'd made my choice, to press charges, to demand justice, to reclaim the life they'd stolen piece by piece. Officer Delgado's last update had been clear. Kayla faced potential charges for identity theft and fraud, and Mom was under scrutiny for possibly enabling it. The case was strong, but the emotional toll was a weight I carried alone, or so I thought. A knock at my door jolted me. I opened it to find Marcus, his hoodie soaked, a shy grin on his face. "Yo, you gonna let me drown out here?" he teased, shaking off the rain. I laughed, stepping aside. "Get in, idiot. What's up?" He flopped onto my couch, tossing a damp envelope onto the coffee table. "That's my share of the reunion bill, $175. Took me a bit to scrape it together, but I meant what I said. I'm done with their crap." I stared at the envelope, my throat tightening. "Marcus, you didn't have to—" "Shut up," he said, waving me off. "You're not the only one breaking free. Mom's pissed at Aunt Lydia now. Says she's done enabling her. Uncle Ray's been hyping you up to everyone, too. You're like a legend," I chuckled, the warmth of his words cutting through the chill. "A legend? I'm just trying to survive." "Nah, you're rewriting the rules," he said, his eyes serious. "I want to be like that someday. No BS, just real." I clapped his shoulder, a silent vow to stay connected. Marcus wasn't just a cousin, he was the brother I'd never had. The next morning, I met Delgado at the station for an update. The interview room was as sterile as ever, but his expression was less guarded. "Good news," he said, sliding a file across the table. "Kayla's taking a plea. She'll pay restitution, $5,200 plus court fees, and do community service. No jail time, but it's on her record. Your parents are off the hook for now, but we've got a warning on file. Any more stunts, and they're liable." I exhaled, relief mingling with disappointment. "Restitution's a start," I said, "but she's getting off easy." Delgado shrugged. "It's a win, she's exposed, and you've got leverage if she tries anything again. You did good, Harper." I nodded, the folder of records heavy in my hands. "What about my statement? Still need it?" "Not unless she violates the plea," he said. "You're free to move on." Free. The word hit like a tidal wave. I left the station, the rain softer now, and drove to the waterfront park where I'd wrestled with my decision days ago. The Puget Sound was a slate of silver, its waves whispering peace. I opened the folder one last time, flipping through the receipts, the ledger, the proof of my family's betrayal. Then I tore it apart, page by page, letting the wind carry the scraps into the water. I wasn't erasing the past, I was releasing it. That afternoon, I got a call from Carla. "Daniel, I'm at the community center," she said, her voice warm. "Can you stop by? I've got something for you." Curious, I drove to the center, a modest brick building where Carla volunteered. She greeted me with a hug, her peach cobbler scent a comfort. "Follow me," she said, leading me to a small office. On the desk was a check for $500 signed by her and several church members. "What's this?" I asked, stunned. "Your share of the reunion," she said, smiling. "Me, Ray, a few others. We ate, so we're paying. And we're proud of you for standing up. You've got a family here, whether you know it or not." I blinked back tears, the gesture overwhelming. "Carla, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll come to Sunday dinner," she said, winking. "No strings, just good food." I laughed, nodding. Deal. As I left, my phone buzzed with a text from Uncle Ray. "Heard about the plea." "You did right, kid. Lunch soon?" I replied. Name the place. The cracks in my world were filling, not with the family I'd lost, but with one I was building. 2 weeks later, I made a decision that felt like a rebirth. I moved to Bellingham, a quiet coastal town an hour north of Seattle. The rent was half my Seattle studios, the air cleaner, the pace slower. My new apartment, a cozy one-bedroom overlooking a marina, was a blank canvas. I spent my first weekend assembling IKEA shelves, blasting 90s grunge, and buying groceries without checking my bank balance for someone else's emergency. For the first time in a decade, I was living for me. My marketing job let me work remotely, and I poured myself into it, landing a promotion that felt like a middle finger to my family's dismissal. I started jogging along the marina, the rhythm of my steps a meditation. I bought a used kayak, paddling into the sunset, the water's calm a mirror for my own. I was 28, and I was enough. But the past wasn't done with me. One evening, as I sipped coffee on my balcony, a letter arrived. handwritten, no return address. I opened it, my heart cautious. Inside was a note and a check for $1,400. The note read, "I don't expect forgiveness, but thank you for showing me what courage looks like. I'm sorry I didn't speak sooner. Marcus told me you moved. Be happy. Jenna." The check was half the reunion bill, a gesture I hadn't expected. I smiled, tucking it away. Jenna's apology didn't erase her silence, but it was a step. I didn't need her money. I needed her to see me. And she had. I never heard from Mom, Dad, or Kayla again. Marcus filled me in through texts. Kayla lost her barista job after the plea, her reputation muddied. Mom stopped hosting family events, her charm tarnished by the truth. Dad retreated into silence, his bluster deflated. A distant cousin's Facebook post mentioned Dad's heart surgery. I felt a pang, but no guilt. They'd chosen their path, and I'd chosen mine. Carla's Sunday dinners became a ritual, her table crowded with misfits and allies. Marcus, Ray, even Jenna once. Her presence tentative but welcome. We laughed, ate, shared stories without strings. It was family, not by blood but by choice, the kind that didn't demand my soul. One day at a Bellingham bookstore, a woman in the checkout line recognized me. "Hey, aren't you Kayla Harper's brother?" she asked, her tone curious. I paused, then smiled, calm and sure. "Number, I'm just Daniel." She blinked, confused, but I didn't explain. I didn't need to. I wasn't Kayla's brother, Mom's savior, or Dad's ATM. I was me, flawed, free, and finally whole. They thought I'd crumble without them, that their guilt trips and gaslighting were my oxygen. They were wrong. I didn't need their Sunday dinners, their tense hugs, their love disguised as control. I didn't need to justify changing my number, moving without a forwarding address, or skipping their calls. Let them gossip, let them twist the story, let them call me the villain. I'd sleep soundly, knowing I'd survive their storm. The best part? They lost their power the moment I stopped begging for love and started demanding respect. Kayla didn't go to jail, but she lost her mask. The family knew her lies, her theft, her laughter at my expense. Marcus moved out, Jenna set boundaries, and Ray spread the truth. Their house of cards collapsed, and I was the wind that toppled it. I wake up now to peace. I work, I kayak, I laugh without flinching. I say no without guilt, eat what I want, keep what I earn. I don't brace for demands when my phone buzzes. I'm not theirs anymore, and it's the greatest gift I've ever given myself. They lost me and I found myself. That's a debt they'll never repay. This story isn't just about me. It's about anyone who's ever felt invisible, used, or erased by the people who should love them most. Family isn't a blank check for betrayal. It's a bond built on respect, not obligation. If you're stuck in a cycle of giving until it hurts, know this: you are enough. You don't owe anyone your soul. Set boundaries, find your allies, and choose yourself. The road's tough, but the freedom on the other side, it's worth every step. Thanks for joining me on this journey. If this resonated, drop a comment, share your story, and let's build a community of survivors. Until next time, stay strong, stay true, and keep fighting for you.